Yeah, that's looking nice. This is looking kind of nice. Come on, you son of a bitch, hurry up. Boom, there it is. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Live from My Mother's Basement. Where is everybody? There they are, and there they are. I can't tell you how happy I am to be back in the basement. I haven't been here in a long time. Been touring like a son of a bitch the entire state of Florida, and I mean the entire state. I went to one side, I went to the other side, I went up, I went down, I came around, but here we are in the basement, and I found another Italian friend of mine to come down and hang out with me tonight, ladies and gentlemen. They call him Tom LaVecchia. I hope I said your name right. This is the better camera. Nice to see that gorgeous face with your nice trim beard. Say hello, Tom.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here.
An honor and a privilege, all right? A nice Italian guy just lied within the first 30 seconds of being on my show.
Right.
It's an honor and a privilege. He came for the pizza.
First time having Luigi's.
Is that Luigi's? That's Luigi's is in New Jersey, and somebody else came by and brought us some nice slices from Brooklyn. So in a little while, we will compare and let everybody know whether Brooklyn beats New Jersey or New Jersey beats Brooklyn, or maybe it's pretty much just the same. All I can tell you is it's not California.
True. No pineapple.
It's not California. So we're down here in the basement, and a lot of stupid shit was in the news tonight before we came down here to hang out and talk. Got two Italian guys who are from the same neighborhood.
Yep.
Where exactly are you from?
I 2 minutes away.
Born and raised this
Yeah,
end?
Roseau Park, 2 towns over, and then now I live in Scotch Plains, and that's where I live.
See that? Two
Close.
Italian kids right here in Scotch Plains, New Jersey, where the house I grew up in is right here, and we are in the basement. Some of the family members are not here anymore, but we are. This is the authentic basement. What'd you think? Is this pretty badass, isn't it?
It brings me back. Anybody who grew up Italian on the East Coast, or even Italian in general, you grew up in your basement, and it's bringing back some good memories.
Not only did we grow up in the basement, this is where you played, this is where
Yep.
the toys were, this is where the stove is, this is where your mother cooked, this is where the pots and pans are, this is where the illegal bathroom is,
Yep.
and this is where they made the wine.
Yep.
This is a bottle of homemade wine. I can't even think who brought this down the basement. So why don't we'll start off with that. Most people, Italian, would never come over your house empty-handed.
Correct.
Remember that saying?
Correct.
You can't go empty-handed. What are we?
right.
What are we, pigs? What kind of people do they think we're going to be?
That's right.
So he came over here with a bottle of wine, a tradition. Tell us about this wine, because you said what this was just a little while ago,
Yeah.
and I thought you were kidding.
Yeah, so it's I brought a French wine, not an Italian wine, but it's a Chateauneuf du Pape, which means Chateau of the Pope. The Pope resided in France for a short period of time, and they made a vintage or an area that was the chateau strictly for the Pope, and that's how they're known as Chateauneuf du Pape to this day.
So tonight I'm the Pope,
That's right.
and this is the wine. And I could tell this is going to be a good wine because I used to be a waiter, what they call them servers now, and I could tell by the how deep my thumb is going in the ass of this bottle, which lets you know that this is a good wine. And you don't touch it with your hand, you touch it with your fingertips.
And you pour.
Am I right?
That's right.
Right? I learned that in waitering school when I was doing really bad as an actor. And you know what I used to do? Drop the fucking thing too, because, all right. We're going to save this for a little later on because we do have some great tasting pizza that we're going to have. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and see if we can't pour just a couple of this homemade wine, and we'll see what Tom thinks about it.
Let's check it out.
I know Tom has an affection for our Instagram camera because he sees all the people. There's people writing into the show right here on the right, and that's where we're going to take in questions. So
Perfect.
this is our main camera. This is the one that's airing on YouTube.
Perfect.
This is the one that's the martini shot that makes us
Love it.
look good.
Love it.
All right, so here, boom, that's for you.
Thank you.
Little taste over there. He's a good wine guy. He knows how to shake his bottle. I just saw him do that. The glass, bada bash, bam. Welcome to the basement, Tom.
Really nice for homemade.
Tastes
Really
like grapes to me.
Really nice.
Oh, I get heartburn so fucking fast. Holy shit.
Not bad. It's pretty good.
Real quick, Marco Asante writing into the show right now. We want to just say hi. Say hi to Marco Asante. Marco Asante is the cousin of Armand Asante.
Oh, wow. Big fan.
Yes, I knew you would enjoy that. But Marco is a great actor as well. He is also a stand-up comedian, and we do a lot of shows together. So Marco Asante and I will be on tour in Sacramento on March 10 and 11. And then we're going to Vegas May 1 through May 7. We will be at the Tropicana in Las Vegas, Nevada. Yep. Marco is also the co-star of Make America Italian Again, which is something that we're going to talk about. And we have a lot of friends in common, too, because I was listening to you talk before we came into the basement. You're going to be shocked with who I've been friends with.
Can't wait.
So right now, let's just go to a quick story that I thought was sad. Of course, it's sad. But I just got back from Florida, right? I'm going back to Florida this coming Thursday. Some of the shows that we did in these retirement communities. Now, they could be 500 to 1,000 people come to these shows. Oh. And each one of these shows is in the most gorgeous, most pristine golf courses / on the lakes, and all the older people are walking around. But however, they're all 55 and above, so I have no problem going in there. Yeah. It looks like the Stepford Wives. Every house is identical. Everything is really, really nice. But there are signs that say, when you walk your dog by the water, be careful. We have alligators, and those alligators have no problem eating your dog.
Not good.
On TikTok lately, I've been watching a lot of these, I forgot what this dragon's called, the Komodo dragon, eating deers and pigs. And one Komodo dragon ate a monkey. And you see the monkey screaming for dear life, like a human. His arm was in the mouth, and he was just chewing it. It's disgusting, but I can't stop watching it, and I know you guys watch it too. It's disgusting, but you can't put it down.
Exactly.
So anyway, in the news today, some 83-year-old lady's walking her little poodle, and what comes out of the water but a, 3-ton alligator, and ate the lady. Yeah, he snapped her, brought her in the water, did the death roll. Her neighbor said, "Oh my God, run," but you can't. And she watched her friend get killed. And that was in the news. So let's talk about that. I mean, I don't mean it in a funny way.
Yeah, not funny. Yeah.
But if you live there, shouldn't you know, hey, I shouldn't be walking my dog here?
You would think, yeah.
They have people who actually train you to tell you where not to go. But if you know Florida is filled with alligators, maybe you should just let the dog run around on his own. Go take a shit by yourself.
Isn't that why they have the mesh backyards where, like, you kind of hang out in the backyard and the pool, but alligators don't come in and other animals?
I don't know. You can get really close to the water.
Got it.
Now, I've been out there and I walk close to the water, but I'm looking for an alligator because I want to get him on Instagram. I'm not walking a dog. And you know what's really the irony of the whole thing? The dog lived. The lady didn't.
Whoa. Interesting.
Yep.
What kind of dog was it, yeah?
I don't know, like a poodle.
Ah, okay.
Something that you don't really like.
Yeah.
All right? Also in the news, I thought this was pretty interesting. A lady was T-boned in a car accident. And she said her car was totaled. They showed pictures of it. It wasn't totaled. It had a dent in the door. Okay. But somehow this car gets on a ship. What do you call a ship that goes around the country, delivers it to someplace else? A container ship.
Yeah.
It makes its way to the Ukraine. People in the Ukraine find it, remodel it. The guy finds her information in the glove compartment and sends her a picture saying, "Look what I did to your car. It looks brand new." So this lady gets in the news and goes, "I saved the family in Ukraine, because if it wasn't for me, they wouldn't have that car. And if they didn't have that car, they wouldn't be able to escape to Poland."
Yikes.
In time to see the president's speech.
Wow.
I've seen it all.
That's...
Come on.
Yeah, that's...
Come on.
Yeah,
I should have made money on that. Folks, you can support tonight's show by sending us some change here on Facebook. And we know that you sent change because we hear the bell ring.
It's in stars, right?
Right now,
It's called?
stars.
Yeah, stars.
Yes. Send them some stars. Let us hear that bell ring so that we can know that we're getting rich on this podcast tonight and we can go out and buy more wine.
That's right.
All right? Madonna's in the news again.
Ooh, her face.
Take it from there, Tom. Go ahead.
Well, believe it or
He didn't
not.
even say anything. Her face.
Believe it or not, and you couldn't tell by looking at me, but I used to work in aesthetics. And we used to call on the doctors that used to do her face. It was a very prestigious doctor who was from New Jersey, who was known for doing her face. He eventually died. He had some challenges. He killed himself. And she goes to another surgeon now, and he totally wrecked her face. And she gets probably about 20 milliliters of filler in her face a month just to have that puffed out look. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's facial filler she gets.
So
Way too much.
What did you say you did? You
So
did?
I used to sell aesthetic needles and stuff where people would put Botox and filler in their face, and we used to call on the surgeon or the dermatologist that she used to see.
You knew the guy?
Yeah, he was from New Jersey actually.
You mean you used to call him to say, "Hey, would
I
you like
used
to buy some needles?"
He was our biggest customer, and he used a lot of our product on her face. He was from New Jersey actually, of all places.
So he's the guy who started her face?
Back then, yeah, he's since passed, and now she goes somebody else. But he jacked up her face, whoever she goes to now. I have an idea who she goes to, but I don't want to say.
I don't know about you people, but Madonna really doesn't look that great.
No, too much, overfilled.
She said in the news tonight, now that the scars are going down or the swelling is going down, she looks better.
Yep.
She looks like another person.
Yep.
I mean, we all want to look young forever. I'd give anything to have a full head of hair, but I'm not going to blow up my cheeks so I look like I can't say nothing.
But you know what? You know what it is, though. Although she's overfilled and looks terrible, there's a theory that if she did nothing, she would look worse.
Well, who gave her that theory? The guy who gave her the injections?
Good point. $100,000 later.
Holy shit! I can't believe you know that person.
Yeah.
Should call a new person. Listen, we got better needles.
Yeah, that's right.
You make a Madonna look like a statue.
Well, she's chasing. She's trying to have that same look that she had for the last 20 years. She should actually not get as much, so it's not as pronounced. It really looks bad.
I'd give anything to look like I did in 1983,
You know?
but I'm not going to stick needles into my face to make that happen. Look at everybody's already saying she can't look worse. All right, we're going to get to you. We're going to get to you. I also had some fun watching the news. I don't like this couple. They call them Meghan and Harry.
Oh, yeah.
The Meghan and Harry story. She screwed his life, ladies and gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
This woman got into this man's life and said, you know what? Screw your family. Come live with me on the other side of the planet. This guy is screwed. He could have been the king. He could have been the emperor. He could have been the guy who walked around naked and said, don't you like my shirt? But no, I don't even know where the fuck I got that from. Is that funny? But now he's got a book out. The book is making millions.
Yep.
I bet you any money someday they get divorced and he goes crying to grandpa and he can't get back in.
He was on the outs to begin with. He wasn't in line. Charles is there now, and then the other brother is ahead of him. I think it was a calculated move. He's like, let me get out while I can. I could always go back and try to build his own name and make his own money. That's just my opinion.
I think there could be a stand-up routine here somewhere. Could you imagine an Italian king and queen here in New Jersey? And then the queen says, listen, you need to leave your family. Screw you, Anne-Marie. We got nothing. We got nothing. Oh, wait a minute. We do have it. It's called a reality show. All right. Well, these are some of the fun things that I was seeing in the news today. And, of course, one last thing. This woman and her husband locked their baby in their apartment. And they couldn't get it out. They tried everything they could, so they called the police. And when the police showed up, the cop actually said, there's nothing I can do. I'll lose my job and ruin my career if I break into your house. Man, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. So then the guy breaks into his house, saves the kid, and the chief of police says, our guys are a bunch of idiots.
You know what town that was?
No, I don't. Where was it?
I heard of it, but I don't know which town it was.
That's what it was.
That's not good.
No, it's not. Maybe they should move back to the UK. Yeah, see, everybody's going to start writing in. I don't hear the bell ringing. Where's the money? But I see everybody.
There you go.
Talk show. I have no make a bet on the horses. Yeah, you might want to respell that. Talk slow. Oh, talk slow. I have to make a bet on the horses. What horses?
Ever the track?
He's eating his pizza without us coming back from commercial break. Hey, Mike Stugats, how you doing?
I'm hungry.
There's a guy in Canada, he calls himself My Stugats.
I love it.
I think that's hilarious. So you keep on saying what you're saying and doing what you're doing.
I love it.
Tom has a crazy career that he does, and it's like he interviews some really cool characters that, sorry to say, a lot of Italians have an affection for.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be somebody out there that says you shouldn't have an affection for that. What the hell's the matter with you guys?
Correct.
And to those people, I say, leave us alone. Let us like who we like.
Yes.
It's got nothing to do with you. Besides, if there are mobsters in the world, it's because they exist.
Correct.
Whether we like it or not has nothing to do with you. They exist, so we watch it.
Yeah.
Just like family.
Yeah.
You could hate me because I make fun of my family. Okay, but they're my family. Relax yourself.
True.
And it's always true. So what made you get into, and I don't want to say specifically,
Yeah.
the podcasting business?
Yeah, so I had a podcast that I've done since 2016. It was called the New Theory Podcast. I still kind of have
The New Theory?
Yeah, New Theory Podcast. And I wanted to just learn about people in business and marketing and life, entrepreneurs and that kind of stuff. But then as I kind of progressed, I really got interested in starting to be organized crime members or criminals that were successful in the business world or made it in their field and their chosen field. And I noticed my numbers would do a lot better if I did an organized crime guy than a business guy, right? Obviously, because it's more interesting. So I'm like, wait a second. I had a personal interest because I read over 100 mob books. So I decided to say, you know what? Let me do a mob podcast. So I started that a few years ago, and it's been bananas since. I've interviewed Sammy the Bull, who was actually related to me through marriage, believe it or not. My first cousin married his niece. I interviewed Pablo Escobar's wife.
Well, you got to slow down.
Yeah.
How did you get Sammy the Bull, and where was he? Was he at your house?
No. So we did it via Zoom. We both had COVID, actually. Ooh, I don't know the C word, sorry. I'm supposed to sit over there. But we both were sick, and we're starting to get sick. So in the interview, you could tell we're both sick. But I did it remotely. And I know his daughter, Karen, through friends when she was on the Mob Wives. So I knew Karen, and I was related to her through marriage, but I met her later in life. See, interesting enough, so my fascination for the mob comes from, my mother's from Italy. She's since passed, but she hated the mob and she hated that stuff. So she kept us away from it. What did I do that spawned a fascination? So I got Sammy on through his daughter, who I knew. I interviewed Pablo Escobar's wife, which was a lot of fun. That was really interesting, and a whole bunch of other people that you think you would never get, but we're able to get for the show.
Well, I would think it would be a lot of fun to have Sammy the Bull on the show. And how was he as a guest? Was he cool? Was he mean? Was he?
He was interesting.
Forthright?
So my angle's a little different. I'm uniquely fascinated by the business end of organized crime. I believe personally, if you can go, whether you go into crime or whether you go into regular citizen like your regular life, you can be successful no matter what, especially nowadays, right? So I'm fascinated, even guys like us, right? Italian American guys. Decided to go the straight and narrow, became moderately successful, and there's other guys who came from our same culture, but went and did crime, right? So I'm fascinated about how people diverted in our culture in a different way, and I'm also fascinated by how they made money. So I'm actually interested in the business end. So the positive with Sammy's interview is I asked him questions nobody really asked him. So he really gave some insight in how the mob worked from the business end, but then also it was a little technical, so I think I lost him.
What is the business end?
Well, if you look
How
at
actually did they earn money?
Well, the big rackets even to today is loan sharking. So they loan money out on the street. You have a gambler who's behind. You can't go to the bank, to get money, or a business guy who's jammed up, who has bad credit, or whatever the situation is. So you got loan sharking, you got gambling. A lot of people like to gamble with bookies still because you get credit. You don't get credit with DraftKings and FanDuel. Obviously, unfortunately, in some cases in Italy, the drugs, unfortunately. And just usual construction rackets and that kind of stuff. And it's still around to this day, obviously. So I'm fascinated on the business end and the machinations. That's kind of my personal and keen interest.
And who else did you have on the show?
Mike Francis, he was making $8 million a week on a gas scam back in the 80s, which was insane.
No shit.
Yeah. $8 million a week.
And did he get caught?
He did, and he says he didn't rat, but he allegedly told on one guy who was in the life. Now he's a kind of a Christian speaker. He's out on the West Coast. He has a winery actually, and he's doing well for himself. He's got a million followers on YouTube, and he's doing pretty well.
I love how these criminals all find God.
Yeah,
Yep.
and YouTube.
It always makes me wonder, if you were making $1 million a week, why didn't you just quit in a week? Why'd you have to work another week? I'd quit. I'm like, you know what, guys? I'm exhausted. This week was just, I'm going to leave the planet. I'll see you. I got my million.
Two
Bye.
words. 2 words. Your boss. So when you drop off that Borsa for 250,000, your boss wants that every week. So good luck telling him that you're going to quit.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can get fired.
Good luck. Good luck.
I always have this weird relationship with boys who happen to be connected because of what I do as a comedian. And I never thought it was going to happen. Quite some time ago, I always saw wise guys coming to the shows at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles.
Oh, nice.
And that's where I got the name Downtown Ronnie, because Downtown Ronnie was a real guy from Brooklyn, and he and his kids were always hanging around at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles because they managed Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh.
And there was a lot of connections in that little
I
genre.
heard about that, yeah.
And then Joey Buttafuoco used to hang around over there too, so they kind of knew each other, and there was a lot of, let's say, wise guys who had something to do with all of that.
Yeah.
And then when I started talking about whacking people and being Italian and how I wanted to run the country, they started to laugh and hang around more often.
Interesting.
When we started the Feast of San Gennaro in Los
That's
Angeles, they had to get the rights to say the Feast of San Gennaro in Los Angeles by the boys who ran the Feast of San Gennaro in New York
Are you
City. And that's
serious?
true, yes.
Jeez.
Nobody got paid off, but it was out of respect.
Yeah.
To say, hey guys, do you mind? And everybody said, okay. And then they said, by the way, how would you like some help financing your projects? And that's the way a lot of that happened, and that's real. And you heard it on my show. Do you understand how they got Plymouth cars and deals like that? I don't know. But you didn't see a Lamborghini or a Maserati or a Fiat. It was Plymouth. Take your time.
Interesting.
As I moved forward in so-called career of stand-up comedy, I was asked if I would host a pilot, and the pilot was called The Sit Down.
Ooh.
And at the sit down, I was going to interview 3 notorious mobsters and the police officer who put them in witness protection.
Get out.
So they all wanted to come and watch me do stand-up before they said they'd be comfortable around me. The following day, they all said, yes, he's funny, let's go do the pilot. So I sat down with Bill Catolo Jr.
I interviewed Billy.
I know, that's why I said it, because I did my research on
Shout
you.
out to Billy.
All right, so now let's talk about Billy, since you know who he
Crazy
is. And I said his name first
Yep.
because I knew you had him on your show. I researched your work, and I went on to your Instagram. So why don't you go ahead and tell everybody who Bill Catolo Jr. is? You
Well-
want to do it?
Well, you can't talk about Bill Catolo Jr. without talking about his father,
Wild Bill.
Was a gangster's gangster. Typically in the life, you're a hitter, a hit guy or a money guy. His father was both. Very serious guy. Unfortunately, kind of got screwed over by his boss because I think they said, "Hey, we're going to make you underboss." They kind of brought him into a house. They killed him. What Billy Jr. did said, "I either got to kill these guys, or I need to get these guys in jail." Decided not to go the first route, which is good. He's a family guy. Didn't want to go to jail for the rest of his life. I believe he wore a wire, testified, and was able to put his father killers away in jail. Billy is a stand-up guy, and I'm going to send him this afterwards. He's a good dude.
Well, I heard the same story too, and I also read the book. And the funniest thing is, after I had done the pilot, the sit down,
That's awesome.
and Bill Catolo Jr. told the story, just like he said, about his father, Wild Bill Catolo.
Did he have a cigar in his mouth?
Billy didn't know.
Yeah, okay. Usually
He was a model. He was a good-looking guy,
Good-looking.
wanted to be an actor.
Yeah.
Very, very very upset about how they did what they did to his
Yeah,
dad. They basically said, this guy's going to become too big. Let's kill him before he gets where he needs to go.
Yep.
That's a real
Crazy shit.
kind of very Goodfeller-ish type shit.
Yep.
So, as you all know, which I said before, that I had been doing stand-up at the Comedy Store, and I was making a joke about Downtown Ronnie. Well, Downtown Ronnie happened to be really good friends with Wild Bill Catolo.
Wow.
And somehow, Downtown Ronnie saw the pilot. And he called me up and he says, Mike, let's meet in the Village. I want to take you for lunch in Little Italy. So I went down to Little Italy and he says, I love what you're doing with the G.I. Giovanni series and how you use my name. I always thought you were the funniest and da-da-da-da-da. Hey, I see you did the pilot with Bill Catola Jr. I was just kind of wondering, where is he? And I was like, holy shit.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, well, as far as I know,
Yeah.
I actually was under the impression that everything was cool. So I said, well, we filmed in Vegas. Oh, so he's in Vegas? I'm like, oh, no. I don't I think he flew in. He flew in from somewhere. And so the funniest thing is, Downtown, who had done some jail time, said to me, Mike, look, I would never do anything. I can't. I'm not going back.
Yeah.
I don't have nothing to do with it. I'm just saying, you need to watch out who you're hanging around with.
Ooh.
Because you
I
might
got
be at
that
a comedy club someday, everybody could be laughing, and all of a sudden somebody recognizes him and you're what they call collateral damage. And I'm like, motherfucker, who even would have thought of that? And I'm like, I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
So I'm actually still friends with Bill Catolo, and we do talk from time to time, and I don't know where he is.
Neither
I don't even know where downtown is.
I did it remote.
He ain't even downtown. I think he's uptown.
Did it remote for the record.
Is it? We did it in person. And then there was another guy.
Uh-oh.
So I can't think of the other guy's name off the top of my head, but he was with a different crew. However, he said he hung around with Bill.
Out of New York, so obviously.
Yeah. I didn't even know crews could hang around with each other, but they said they could.
Yeah.
He was an earner, and he did this one.
Was he an informant?
No. Well, I guess they all turned.
Yeah.
They all
If they're
turned.
sitting down with, they probably.
Yeah. I forgot what his name was, but I remember him going like this. I was never the biggest guy in the neighborhood, but if you saw me coming, you knew it was time to talk. And I had to split your head open like a canoe. That's what I was going to do. And then he looked at me and he goes, you okay? I'm like, can I have a glass of water? And that was him. And then the third guy was the guy they made Casino about.
Oh, Splotch. Well, Frank Collada.
Collada.
You interviewed Frank Collada?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
I have it on tape.
And
I have his book.
I started interviewing him when he started. Before he passed, he had Coffee Hour.
Yeah.
And it was really good. It's actually still online. And it's Frank Collada Coffee Hour, and he would talk about old stories, and he was doing a lot of interviews. I always wanted to interview him, and I never really pushed it. But then I think he passed about 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, he passed of old age. He was always hanging around at the Tropicana in Las Vegas because they had a show in the Tropicana called the Mob Museum.
Yes.
And that's where the Laugh Factory is, and that's where I was performing. And they would always have me out there in May because there's an Italian-American festival. So I got to interview him, and I remember when we were talking to
That's
him.
an interview. That
Yes.
is an interview.
Scared the crap out of you. Because and you could see this. I don't know where the episode is. It didn't get picked up. I don't know how they don't pick this shit up. It was fucking great.
You were ahead of your time because this genre is kind of pendulum swinging back towards the genre.
Well, maybe we
And
could bring
you
it
were-
back.
Yeah.
It was so well done. The director, the producer, the characters, and the guy who put them in witness protection. Now, I can't remember the officer's name. He was probably in his 80s. He did say how they did it. So Collada was saying how they were the over the wall gang or in through the
They
roof
were
gang.
the oh man, I should know this. The oh god,
Get a little
forgot
closer
about
to me
it.
because I want to
Sorry.
keep on this camera.
sorry. I
Over
said it
the
come to
wall,
me.
in the hill,
It's
through the roof.
through the wall, over the wall.
It's how they broke into that one famous place. They went in
Correct.
through the roof.
I think hole in the wall gang.
Hole in the wall gang.
I should know that.
The hole in the wall gang. So now you know we're actually telling the truth about
Yeah.
our experiences.
Yeah.
I just remember him saying, he goes, yeah, there was the one time that they, they were coming after my friend, and I was in the one place, and they started shooting him, and they shot him with half shells. That's what let me know they were really after me. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, they were half shells, which means he didn't really go down. So when I had to grab him, I was tying the cord from the phone around his neck, and I was choking him, and he wasn't dying. And I go, so you were killing your best friend? He goes, oh, better him than me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
Collado was a legend.
Legend?
He was out of the Chicago mob, actually.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he sounded like it, too.
Yeah.
With that Chicago accent.
And he, interesting enough, because there were still kind of guys that way, and he didn't hide. He stayed in Vegas and kind of hung out and lived pretty openly over there for a number of years.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he walked around in the open.
Yeah.
You would wonder why nobody gets pinched at all or taken out.
Well, you know what it is? So there was a case, and not in the mob, but in the rap world. One guy was going to inform, and just somebody sent him a letter, and the letter was kind of a backhanded threat. 44 months just for that letter, just for sending a letter to an informant with a backhanded threat. So just imagine if you kill somebody. So if you touch an informant, the guidelines go 10x. So I think part of the thing is nobody wants to do the time.
I wouldn't want to do any time.
Me neither.
I know a couple of guys who've done time. Doesn't sound like a lot of fun. So let's bring up another character that we have in common that has done some time. All these guys that we have in common have done time. Yeah. Time in jail.
Criminals.
Not time on vacation. No, time in jail. So you mentioned Joey Molino.
Yeah.
Well, Joey Molino owned a restaurant in Boca Raton.
Marino's, that's right.
Yes. Now, I don't know about these things. I really didn't at all. All I know is a friend of mine said, you got to come with me to this restaurant and let everybody know you're coming in. They know you're coming. And I go, well, who knows I'm coming? I just want to go for dinner. He goes, now, you're going to have to do some jokes. And I go, where? At a restaurant? He goes, trust me, you're going to want to do jokes at this restaurant. So we go in there, and you see all these people hanging around, and they're angled at this corner. And there's a piano player there, and here comes Skinny Joey Molino.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going like this, oh, shit, that's him. I know who that is. And he goes, Mike, I'm so glad you decided to do comedy at my place. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Oops.
I didn't even know I was coming here, but anything for you, anything for you.
Oh, wow.
And I went up there and I was doing my thing. It was hilarious.
Awesome. I heard the food was good there.
It was great food.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it was bad food, who would say it's bad? It's him.
Well, he had a 2-year, it wasn't open that long, believe it or not. I think it was only open like 2-3 years.
Well,
but the food was good in terms of the reviews.
I think he had a new problem that started again. Something like that.
Yeah, he met at a cigar bar with one of his old comrades and violated himself, and I think that was the ending of that.
Well, I could tell you this. We all went to a casino later on that night. And
he was allowed to go?
Well, I don't know exactly what was going on. I don't know nothing. All I know is I was handed a lot of chips, and somebody said, could you go cash these in? And I'm like, yeah. Yeah.
And they were $99.99, exact amount.
Could you cash these in? Sure. What do I say? Just say you won.
That's it. That's it.
Where's my winnings?
$99.99.
Holy
so
smokes.
I heard.
Let's go back even further in time. I was on tour in Florida again. Seems like everybody's hiding out in Florida. So I go out to Florida to do a couple of shows. They were fundraisers for 9/11. And one of the phony wise guys was on the on the show. He was an actor, and his name was Vincent Pastore from The Sopranos.
Oh, yeah.
So it was Vincent Pastore and myself. We were doing a fundraiser for 9/11. They had a piece of steel from the girders of the buildings at 9/11, and they were giving it out. And they asked me if I would go on a couple of radio shows and talk about the events. So I go on this radio show, and I meet ex-gangster Larry Lawton. Was he there? Larry Lawton.
That's awesome.
So what do you know about Larry?
So Larry Lawton has a show. He was, I believe, a jewelry thief, was connected, I think, with the Gambinos.
Exactly.
And just got into YouTube at the right time. He wasn't an informant. He went to jail, did his time. He stood up 10 toes down, and then started a podcast and now has like about 1 million subs, and he's probably one of the bigger, if not the biggest, in the space for what he does. Big fan of Larry.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, small world.
So Larry Lawton goes on to become a podcaster,
Yeah.
but he also has a book. I don't know exactly what it's called, Redemption, about being in jail. And what he wanted to do was help kids from going to jail. When I met him, he told me all about his diamond heist.
Yeah.
And the diamond heist is what got him pinched, and he ended up doing 13 years in prison. So I stayed in touch with Larry Lawton, and every time I went down to Florida to perform, I'd call him up and I'd say, hey, can I be on your show? Can I be on your show?
That's awesome.
He always comes to my performances. I introduced him to a bunch of different people. We've stayed in touch. So a couple of weeks ago, I go on Larry Lawton's podcast now. Holy shit. He has millions of followers.
Yeah.
He does a great show.
Yeah.
And we did the show at 11 o'clock in the morning, and now he has his own cigar line.
Oh.
So we had to sit there,
Now I got to try that out.
smoke cigars,
Sweet.
drink some wine at 11 o'clock in the morning with his brother. After 2 hours, I'm dizzy as hell. I got smoke all over me. But we went out to lunch. And when we went out to lunch, everybody was just loving Larry Lawton.
Yeah.
He lost 50 pounds now because he's
Looks
on
good,
that
yeah.
intermittent diet.
Yeah.
Loving life. Gets in his old school Mercedes, two-door, driving around like a maniac. And what does he say to me? Let me give you a box of cigars.
Oh,
So why don't we
sweet.
go ahead and do a nice big shout out to our friend Larry Lawton. As you can see, he autographed it, and it says Crooked Diamond Cigars. If you
I
get the
love it.
joke, Crooked Diamond, because he stole diamonds, and he's crooked. And he gives me this box, which was filled with cigars, but I gave some away, and I smoked some. It's actually a humidor. You
Yeah.
take this wooden piece out of the bottom,
Yep.
you put some cool thing in there, I don't know what it's called, and you close that and you shut your mouth. So Larry Lawton, I'm going to ask you right now, because I know he's going to be watching this,
Sweet.
why don't you do a call-in to his show?
I would love to have Larry on.
Look up in the Instagram one.
Larry, I would love to have you on. I'm a big fan of your show. You'll see who I interview. Definitely your caliber of folks, and be happy to have you on.
Larry, let's make that happen. And I'll smoke another box of cigars. Thank you so
I'll
much.
buy a box of cigars from you because I'm a big cigar smoker.
Are you really?
Big
Well,
time.
well, why don't we just give him one of your cigars right here? This is a Larry Lawton Crooked Diamond cigar.
Beautiful.
Can't smoke it in my house. We
No,
can
no,
smoke
no,
out
no.
back when we're done. In fact, since we're talking about the cigars,
Oh, wow.
we might as well bring in this gift that I was given by a fellow comedian. He's not here, but he's from the Ukraine. I'm sorry, Ukraine. You can't say the Ukraine. You got to say Ukraine. We're going to have him on the show, and we'll mention his name later on in the show, and then we'll have him come down and be part of it. Isn't this nice? Isn't this nice? I mean, I don't know if I could have a cigar and a glass of this and make it through the night, but this looks like a lot of fun. Singleton.
So that's a 12
Singleton
years.
malt
Yeah.
Scotch whiskey. What does that
That's
even
nice.
mean?
Well, it's a single malt Scotch. Singleton's a brand. 12 years, which is really nice.
It was made 12 years ago.
Yeah. Well, 12 years aged. Probably aged for 12 years.
It's
in a
12 years old.
oak cask, and then released.
Right. Oh, so you know about this stuff too, all right?
I am a degenerate. I know a little bit about wines, whiskeys, bourbons, and cigars, but nothing else outside and the mob. Outside of that, ask my wife. I'm pretty much useless.
Well, hey, listen.
This is beautiful, by the way.
We got a nice Larry Lawton cigar for you, and we're going to get you on Larry Lawton's show,
Love
and
it.
we're going to get Larry Lawton back on my show again. And thanks. I'm going to
He's
call.
out of the
I'm going to call
Midwest,
him.
I think.
Larry Lawton.
Yeah.
He's in Florida.
Oh, he's in Florida.
Yeah, he went to go home and take care of his mom. He lives in his mom's house.
Good for him.
Yeah, but
God
you didn't.
bless.
Maybe I shouldn't be saying this. I'm fucking ranting on everybody.
No,
hey, Pitbull Cigars, how you doing?
He wasn't an informant, so he should be okay.
No, he kept his mouth shut.
That's right.
Yeah,
Good
everybody
dude,
loves
too.
Larry.
Good dude too.
While we're talking about some other celebrities, let's talk about some hometown heroes here in Scotch Plains.
do it.
Now, you obviously are from Scotch Plains, and
Yes.
you're part of the Italian American Club. Which club are you a part of?
The one we belong to, Italian American Club of Westfield, New Jersey. Can I have a little more wine?
Yes.
Italian American Club of Westfield, New Jersey. My wife and I just went to the dinner dance 2 weeks ago. Fantastic at the the Regency something in Sterling. Salute.
Salud.
And yeah, it's a great club in Westfield, New Jersey, Italian American Club, which I found out you were a member through email.
I'm a member of the Italian American Club in Westfield because the Italian American Club here in Scotch Plains has some stipulations that we all can't meet. I happen to be Abruzzese, which means you're not allowed to belong to the club unless you Mondazzales or some shit like that. But since the
I
Italians...
heard the same rumor too, to be
It's
honest.
not even a rumor. I went to perform there once, and I told them, would you guys get over yourselves? And they're looking at me like, we need him. I'm like, yeah, but he looks at this thing. Most of the people in here are Irish, so relax.
Yeah.
But we like being part of any of these clubs because you can commiserate with everybody, and you can have a lot of fun, and you can enjoy. And then they do some great stuff for the
For
town.
the community, yes.
So one of the greatest things that's going on for this town here in Scotch Plains, other than myself, is they're putting on a really big show. I believe it's this coming weekend. It's a dinner comedy show at the historical Shady Rest Country Club. I'm wearing a shirt that says 100 years
Oh, nice.
of the Shady Rest Country Club, which is here in Scotch Plains, New Jersey. They used to call this area Jersey Land. I don't know if they still call it that anymore. It's a little bit of a scary name, but there's nothing to be afraid of. It's just a country club where people play golf. But there's a big history behind it. It's been around a really long time, and I won't get into too much of it. I'll just tell you where you can get tickets, okay? The comedy show this weekend, you could still keep... They're saying it's sold out. I say push your way in. Couple of extra bucks, okay? It's the historical Shady Rest Country Club, and it's hosted by none other than Scotch Plains' own Marklin Mr. Direct Johnson, who's a comedian and a host. He's very funny, and he's really super, super cool. And for all you girls out there, he's a really good-looking single dude. All right? They're going to have comedians in the show like Al Carroll. I hope I'm saying that right. Don Himes. And the headliner is going to be Monique Latisse. Am I right? They have a female headliner. This should be really, really fun in an area where there's going to be mostly men who play golf.
Fair enough.
I'm just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. All right? Show starts at 8:30. Special shout out to Preserve Shady Rest Committee. That's a bunch of people who get together and argue. And then before you know it, they put on a great show. Let's preserve this Shady Rest because it is a national landmark. And I like historical stuff. There's a lot of historical buildings in this town of Scotch Plains. Some date back to 1700, maybe 1600. And I know George Washington slept in a bunch of different houses. Not this house, but a bunch of other houses. All right, so the Italian American Club is behind it. The people here in Scotch Plains are just mentioned.
Yes.
And the town of Scotch Plains, I got all that. Art Chick Designs. What's that? Never mind. I'm going to help sponsor the show this weekend by giving some monies towards the show. I can't make it because I'm going to be in Florida one more time. Read the back of this shirt.
Let me see. 100-year anniversary. There you go.
That's the biggest shout out I've ever done in my entire life. I'm getting old. My back is killing me. Probably going to have to go get a chiropractic adjustment by Jim Cecchio. Jim Cecchio and his friends over in Westfield, one of my original sponsors. I don't have it on my shirt. But if you need acupuncture, acupuncture, you want to go to AccuVision Acupuncture in Westfield, New Jersey. I hope I said that all right. Jim Cecchio is one of the most incredible, legendary characters in the town of Scotch Plains, New Jersey. His great-great-great-great-grandfather discovered this town when they came over on the Mayflower. It's really unbelievable. They didn't even have a Mayflower back then. They had to build it. See, if we were live in front of an audience, this would be killing. But here in the quiet basement, you can't hear it through the stone. And things like that need to be preserved, and I love when they preserve that stuff like that because, as you can see what's going on in my basement, I keep everything. Antiques, baseball bats, and...
We got to say hello to, give a shout out that they're requesting.
All right, well, why don't we take in some questions right now while we're rolling? This question's coming from Alex Manukas. Can you give my wife Lizzie a hello? Ready? Hello, Lizzie.
Hello.
Paul de Goudis. Whatever happened to the guy in New York that ran over the head of the family with his red truck?
This red truck. That.
I think that's the Gotti family. Are we talking about John Gotti when his son got killed?
Oh yeah, that was John Favara who met a demise after he hit.
Yeah, you don't run over somebody like that and live to talk about it. No.
Believe it or not, Angel Gotti, who is John Gotti's daughter, also has a podcast. Shout out to Angel. Her and I don't always see eye to eye, but she has a podcast as well. Interesting enough.
Well, I'd like to be on that podcast. I would like to have our mom podcast. Maybe we'll come down the basement.
I'll make a connection for you.
Let's make that happen. I actually just got connected to Chaz Palminteri.
That's a good connection.
And I'm going to get on his podcast, and then there's a couple of other shows that I'm going to get connected to, because you were mentioning this before, but some of my friends are in the TV series Gravesend.
Yeah, Will DeMayo.
Well, I know Willie DeMayo for a long time, who's the brains behind it.
He's very close with Angel as well.
Angel?
Gotti.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm close with Peter Gaudio, and Peter Gaudio is going to be with me when we perform at the Comic Strip in New York City on March 24. So if you are going to have crime, it should be organized crime.
There you go.
All right, that's not a question, that's a statement. But thank you very much, Chin Surf Cafe. She ruined her face. Oh, this is back to Madonna.
Yeah, that was wrong.
Don't forget tomorrow's Ash Wednesday.
Is it? Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. Today's Fat Tuesday.
Is it Fat Tuesday?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Mardi Gras.
Oh, today's the Mardi Gras?
Yeah.
Well, happy Fat Tuesday, everybody.
Yeah.
We could say fat without getting in trouble.
That's right.
Happy Fat Tuesday. I felt so good saying that. I hope nobody yells at me. All right, yes. So we're going to have a couple of glasses of wine. We're going to smoke some cigars. We're going to have some shots. And then we're going to ask forgiveness tomorrow at church while we got ashes put on our foreheads.
That's right.
From ashes you came, from ashes you shall return.
That's right.
When I was a kid, I worked at Scotch Plains Fanwood High School, and I also worked at the church. We used to put the missalettes in the pews and then burn them the following month.
Same Bart's over here?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Petrifying, and we would clean up after bingo. Nobody was in there but statues looking at 3 13-year-old kids wanting to scream. And if we found an extra penny, we thought we made it big. When are you coming back to Canada? 3 Aces Italian. Thank you so much for asking me that question. April 22 through April 25, I will be in Vaughan, Ontario. Go to MikeMarino.net, check out the shows. Saratoga Dave, what's your question? My Stugats, Jones dinner look awesome. Well, Stugats.
That's a great name.
My father came over here yesterday with my Aunt Joan. Now, whenever you invite older people over for dinner, what is going to happen?
Oh, that's a loaded question, but I would say, one, they'll probably complain.
No?
Well, they'll bring wine.
Yeah. And?
So bring older Italians over for dinner. They'll probably clean up after themselves.
They brought the food.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say.
You're a single guy like me. You live alone.
Well, you said you had them over for dinner.
They brought the dinner.
If you said I had them over, I would 100% said they would have brought
They brought everything over.
Yeah,
They
I'm
brought
not-
over
I'm not
the chicken parmesan. They brought over the spaghetti. They brought over the meatballs.
God
They even
bless.
had pepperoni in the gravy. You say gravy or sauce?
Sauce, sorry.
Oh, really?
Yes.
All right, listen,
Gravy's
everybody,
brown.
we got to go.
Gravy's brown.
It's the ongoing conversation, and he's from this area. I just don't get it. I'm coming to see you again. Thank you, my Stugats. I appreciate that. I want you guys to get in touch with this young man and watch his stories and watch his podcast.
Armchair NBA. Check it out on YouTube. YouTube primarily or iTunes. Depends if you don't want to look at me. iTunes might be a better play.
On iTunes?
Yeah. But most of my stuff is YouTube.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
What do you do besides the actual podcast?
Day job is I actually have a marketing company, digital marketing, where I do marketing for different companies, plastic surgeons, e-commerce companies, med spas. So I do the marketing to gain their online presence. So that's how I kind of know how to do all the digital stuff, and then I use that skill to promote my podcast as well.
I'm laughing because here comes the argument. Look at all the guys. These are all in Canada. They're all Canadians. And they're saying sauce, suka. Shut up. It's gravy. My first job was at St. Bart's. Hey, Joe Hobbs.
Now, some people believe it's gravy because when you mix it, obviously, with meat on Sundays.
Correct.
But I personally think it's sauce. Actually, you'll appreciate this. There is a guy who has a podcast now who's an informant, Mikey Scars Di Leonardo. He's was with John Gotti Jr. So he's a big chef, big cook. So he has a show, I have a show. Him and I were kind of going at it. He was saying gravy, I was saying sauce. So I did a little survey on my community, 3,000 votes. Gravy just won by like 1 point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on my own community
It
page.
actually won?
By 1 point on my own page, which was even more embarrassing. So I owe Mikey a dinner.
This is really funny.
Yeah.
There's so many Italian people in this neighborhood, and one thing, whether they disagree about sauce or gravy, they're nice to each other for the most part. Yes, we speak proper Italian in Canada. Oh, excuse us. Here comes the argument.
Well, they're probably from Woodbridge.
And there's Pitbull Cigars, cigar, sauce, always sauce. If these guys were over here right now, we would fight, but we would eat.
Well, there's an argument. There's not even a word for gravy in Italian, so that's another kind of argument towards. So sugo's a dialect or word
I
for
thought
sauce.
that was sugar. Sunday sauce versus gravy. All right, well, listen, it's an ongoing battle like
Definitely
Taylor
not-
ham or pork roll.
Definitely not settling it today.
Pork roll was made by a company called Taylor.
Correct, but it's Taylor ham though.
Ah, shit.
You say pork roll?
Yeah, I say pork roll.
Jesus Christ.
Pork roll, get cheese on a hard roll. I don't give a fuck what you
I
call
need
it.
to-
Just
I
make
need
sure
to
I got
vet-
one.
I need to vet these things before I go on shows.
Pitbull Cigars, I would like to talk to you about promoting your cigars on the show.
Yes.
I appreciate you always writing in. And I think when you come on the internet and start watching his show, you'll have some fun that way too. Maybe one of these days, come the summer or the spring, we'll have a cigar night and do a podcast live outdoors and smoke a bunch of cigars.
At the Italian
and
Club,
drink
maybe.
some. At the Italian American Club, if they let us in. You got to be from Mundatsules or some shit like that. All right? All right, man. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
We've been hanging out. We've bullshitting. We got some pizza from Brooklyn. We got some pizza from New Jersey. They both taste absolutely delicious. We got some great wines. We got some great friends. We got some great cigars. Don't forget, if you're around the Scotch Plains area this weekend and you want to come and see a great comedy show, actually just log on to Mr. Direct on all social media, and you'll see what Markland's doing this weekend and where he's entertaining either this weekend or in the future. Go to the Shady Rest. I believe if you could Google it, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about and what a legacy this actual golf tournament, golf place is, especially in the month of February. And you'll figure that all out once you Google the Shady Rest. You digging? All right, tell everybody where they can find you on the internet.
Check out the Armchair MBA on YouTube and check out the Armchair MBA on iTunes. And it's, again, an honor and privilege to be here.
And your social media?
At the Armchair MBA on Instagram.
What is MBA?
Oh, so the play is I have a master's in business. So that's why I care about the business end of things. So the Armchair MBA is kind of a play on words, like, like Monday Morning Quarterback. I'm the Armchair MBA. I look at things in retro and give my opinion. And again, I dissect the business end of the mob.
The business end of the mob. We had
Yep.
some great stories on tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
Some stories I talked about that I haven't talked about since I made that pilot to sit down. Maybe this time we'll actually pull it out of the archives and put it on television,
That'd
or
be
maybe
fun.
you could see it on my YouTube channel. It's actually really, really cool and scary. You'll actually see me petrified. So check it out. Listen, we got to get going. Let's do a nice big shout out to my producer for always making this podcast fantastic. Thank you so much to Tatiana Bluchel for making sure that this podcast gets broadcast the right way. You can listen to us anytime you want in the future on iTunes, Google, Spotify, Anchor, and Italian American Radio in New York City. You got to log on to that.
I gotta
He's
check
a good
that
friend
out.
of mine. I think you'd like to be on his show. They
to.
call him Johnny Mandolin because he plays the mandolin. He's in New York, downtown in the Village, as he's always been. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Patreon. Thank you, everybody, for taking my most recent clip, the Italian American president, and sending it over 2 million views in the last 7
Wow.
days. And that's badass, huh?
Damn.
2.2 million views. If you think you would like to sponsor one of the shows, you can write to me at MikeMarinoLive@gmail.com. If you're a fan, why don't you write to us at MikeMarinoFans@gmail.com. If you would like to be a guest on the show, why don't you write to Tatiana? All you have to do is write to MikeMarinoEntertainment@gmail.com and let Tatiana know you're interested in being on the podcast. Other than that, we got to get going. Remember, let's make America Italian again. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to tell everybody one of the most important things.
What's that?
I'm going on tour starting Thursday.
Sweet.
Thursday, Florida for the weekend. The following Thursday through Saturday for the weekend, the other side of Florida. Then I'm going to Los Angeles, Sacramento, New York City, New Jersey, Philadelphia, back to Florida, on to Dubai. That's right. Oh, no, I got to go to,
Take a look.
I'm going to, that fucked me up. I'm
Quick
going
selfie.
to Canada, then Dubai. Oh, and Texas, too, because the people in Texas love Italians. I always say the same thing when I go there. Howdy, you's doing? Hey, I made him laugh. All right? So let's make America Italian again. Remember, you don't know nothing, you don't see nothing, you don't say nothing. And how do I end every single one of my broadcasts? By always saying the same thing with my guest. Don't take no shit from nobody. Ready?
Ready?
Don't take no shit from... No, you got to get in it. Ready?
Ready.
Don't take no shit from nobody. There you go. That was a good one. All right, let's eat. I'm starving. Hey, folks, I hope you're enjoying watching my podcast live from my mother's basement. We're having a lot of fun, and I'm going to have a lot of great guests on the show in the future. So if you like it, hit like. You could also leave a comment. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch other funny videos. And you could also listen to my podcast on your favorite podcast app like Spotify and iTunes.